And that's the sort of thing, because we go looking for it, it's easy proof to find. But actually what we're not doing is we're not looking for meaningful workarounds. We're not looking for how to make that leap into what is a different reality and make it work for us. And if we're stuck with change, we're just going, well, it's bad then, isn't it?
The question is, from Thinking Focus.
So, the question is, why do people go looking for evidence that supports their point of view?
Hello, my name is Rob from Thinking Focus.
Hello, I'm Ricky from Thinking Focus.
The question is, from Thinking Focus, a podcast about how we sometimes get in our own way and what we can do about it.
Well, during times of change.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob.
It's a classic comfort blanket, I think, because it's one of those things where you're looking for stuff that actually confirms that your deep-held belief, whether it's a deluded belief or not, is actually true, because you want the world to conform to your view of the world. You don't necessarily want to actually have to think about somebody else's point of view being the one that you have to accept. Because there's a lot of comfort in you going, okay, I know what's going on. I'm part and part, I can control the agenda here. I'm in control of this. I'm not having to accept stuff that other people are telling me.
I think that's a great term, that comfort blanket, because we don't like change as the norm, do we? We're looking for that evidence that supports this is not good, and all the reasons why it should stay the same.
Yeah. But it's also true the other way around, to a degree, because if you actually do welcome change and you like change and you see change more of an opportunity, you would then go looking for those opportunities and proof that those opportunities can be true and can be correct.
Sure.
So I think it does operate both ways around. But you're right, the higher proportion of activity or behaviour exists certainly within teams and organisations in the work setting around change being bad or difficult or a situation that I don't like or anything like that. That's the predominant view. But I think, the mindset to this, if I can use that term, is very similar, where we have a view about what that change might mean, and we then go, I'm going to go and find some evidence that supports that.
And what might that evidence look like? What sort of things do you think people are... What are the examples of that type of evidence?
So let's think about this from the point of view that maybe change is not being readily accepted by somebody, okay? Because that's we've got a problem to solve. If we're a leader in an organisation, we need to help people, then, those people who see change as an opportunity is not really a problem for us. That's good. So if we're looking for evidence, what might we be looking at is your question. We might be thinking, this will mean that certain things that I have been used to doing before are not going to happen anymore. Right? So I'll go looking for evidence that actually proves that to be correct. Right? So maybe a new IT system or platform has been introduced in the organisation. I automatically will think, if that's my reality, that my life is now going to be more difficult. I'm going to have more to do. I'm going to have to use a system that is nowhere near as good as the system I was working before. I'm going to have to find all sorts of workarounds. It's going to waste my time. I'm going to be in an uncomfortable place. So I will then go looking for that sort of evidence.
And because we're probably in an emotional reaction state to this, the likelihood is we're going to amplify that in terms of implication to me, to my workload. I'm now having to press 3 more buttons than I did before. Yeah. There's no connection in that reaction to maybe what the big picture outcome for this IT system or whatever change that an organisation has implemented. And
I've heard those examples so many times. Well, I can't print out a report, right? Is that real? No, it's not real, because they probably can print out a report. What they really mean is, I used to press F1 before to get my report, and now actually they've got to press the Windows key or F6. But they don't know that. They haven't gone asking that question. Nobody's provided them with the information. But their reality is, I can't print out a report. Do you know what I mean? So it's just as a very simple example, they've probably got greater functionality in, because we have to believe that somebody's implemented an IT system is better than the one that we had before. Let's just work on that assumption. So they've probably got greater functionality, but what they haven't got so far is that nobody's explained it. No, they haven't themselves gone and asked any questions about it. They're just making an assumption based on the fact that, it's change, isn't it? My life is more difficult. So they're looking for why it's more difficult. Oh, there we go. There's my first bit of proof. F1 doesn't work.
And of course, in change, the point is it's change, and therefore initially it is a little bit more difficult. The riding the bike scenario, first start it really tough, but it becomes easier with practice.
And that's so.
And application.
Let me take that analogy one stage further, because you just mentioned a bike. Actually, life hasn't become more difficult. Life has just become different to what it was before. So if you're on a bike, right, and you take your stabilizers off your bike, you're still riding the same bike. It's just that now things are different. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
Like, and if I continued with those stabilizers, right, the stuff that I'm used to, my bike still might perform the same way as it did before. But after time, I'm going to actually be a slower rider than I was before, because the stabilizers are now holding me back. That very thing that supported me to get to a certain point of comfort will become eventually with time something that holds me back. And I think that happens in business as well. You know, we've got an IT system that is not fit for purpose. How many times have you been in organizations? I know I have.
Many.
Where from an acquisition point of view, for example, people are complaining about not the current system, but all the legacy systems that don't talk to each other. Yeah? Oh,
yes.
Well, life would be dead easy if we just had one IT system. But no, we've got to deal with this one not talking to that, this one not talking. Do you know what I mean? I could go on. There's so many examples like that. And that's the sort of thing, coming back to the question you asked, about the proof, that because we go looking for it, it's easy proof to find. But actually what we're not doing is we're not looking for meaningful workarounds. We're not looking for how to make that leap into what is a different reality and make it work for us. And if we're stuck with change, we're just going, well, it's bad then, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course, you know, in times of change, you know, people look for that meaning. And if we, as leaders, are not sharing that meaning with them, that purpose, that intent that we're trying to create that future world, to your point, you know, we're not implementing this to go backwards. It's not about retrograde step. It's about progressive step to help us be more equipped for the future or whatever that may be. But people look for that meaning and they fill in those gaps with things that feel comfortable.
Of course. Yeah. Because then that again, to the original question, that supports their view of, their perception of what the reality of the situation is. You know, filling in those gaps makes them feel more comfortable because, but I told you, this is why it's not working for me. This is why life has become more difficult, you know.
So how do we help people with this, Rob? You know, because that might be at an individual level. You know, we notice that. How do we help people to see that, or to help them through this type of behaviour? Because change is not stopping, the only constant and all of that sort of thing. But so how do we help people through this?
I think part of that is precisely because we are so good at searching for meaning, and our current paradigm might be that we're looking for proof why something is wrong or more difficult, etc., is to actually help them to go looking for proof, but go looking for proof about how things could be better. Yeah. So still go looking, but let's flip that slightly to go, because it's meant to be better, let's go and find some ways that it can be better, right? Let's go and look for some things. So, you know, the equivalent to my F1 not working before, let's help you to understand what it is that's getting on your nerves. Well, F1 isn't, you know, what do you want to actually then do? You're not wanting to press F1, you're wanting to get your report. Let me help you understand where your report comes from now, and do a bit of hand-holding, for want of a better description, to get that first report printed. Then go, now that you know how to do this, let me help you to understand what else should you be going looking for. What else do you need this system to do for you, right? So get them to go looking for the things that would be helpful in their job. Even if they don't know how to do that, they can then report that back to you, the trainer, the facilitator, the supplier of whoever it happens to be, so that you can then go, all right, now we've got specific items that we need to just provide you with answers to. But what it's done is it's actually changed the mindset of that individual. Rather than them being stuck going, everything's a problem, you're encouraging and involving them by going, please find the things that you would like this system, this mechanism, this change to do for you, so that we can provide you with the answers. Now they're going looking for things that are more positive to help them to move forward. In other words, they're concentrating on the job again, instead of concentrating on all the things that can't work about the job.
Absolutely. And I think definitely focusing on the more positive outcomes for what they want to do. And I think that probably loops quite nicely back to, have we shared the purpose for the new system?
Right.
Have we explained the reasons behind this new system?
Right.
Let's revisit what we saw as the benefits to this and how that might help them to do their job more effectively, more simply, help them to, particularly if it's, say, a customer service role, deliver that customer experience how we hope to be. Yes, it's different, but actually what we're looking for is to go, how does this system give us that advantages that we looked for when we originally went shopping for those benefits?
And I think an additional benefit to that, and again thinking about managers or leaders helping other people through change, is to take a similar approach but focused on a different area, which would be to go, let's also highlight for you and remind you of all of the frustrations you had in the past with the old method of doing things, right? So let's just tease some of that out to go, all of the things that we've been complaining about over the months and years, let's just remind ourselves of those again, because, and I'm making some assumptions here, but it's likely that some of those things, the purpose, the reason for getting a new system or a new way of doing things is to eradicate some of those old problems. So you used to have a problem with, remind me again, it was A, B and C. Well, the new system does this, which actually basically gets rid of A, B and C, so you no longer have those problems anymore. It's one of the reasons why we've gone for this. Do you know what I mean? So you've given a really great description of those things that we can do better in the future, but we can also temper that with and make it even more solid and more exciting to go, these are the things that we've also got rid of. So it's a double whammy.
No, absolutely. So we're solving some problems and we're creating some great benefits.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of round this off then, Rob. What, if we were to summarise this for our listeners in terms of the key things, the key elements, the key takeaways from this podcast, what might they be?
So, let's focus on the question again. So let's help. What's the question again that we were concentrating on?
So the question is, why do people go looking for evidence that supports their point of view?
Right. Because it's a natural thing to do. There's a summary.
Sure.
Because it is one of the things that gives a little bit of comfort, because we have typically got an attitude that change is bad and change is difficult and my life is going to be more difficult now.
Yep.
So looking for evidence to support that just makes me feel better, because I can say to all and sundry, maybe my manager, maybe my work colleagues, I told you, yeah.
Yep.
So it's it's an entirely natural thing. It gives us some comfort, and what we can do is to help people with actually changing the focus of that, problem-orientated mindset.
So let's go looking
for
the positive evidence that supports the change we're trying to impact.
Correct, and the problems that we can solve.
Sure, and then the other element of that is to actually let's revisit the original purpose, the original reasons as to why we're implementing this change.
Something different.
So they can connect with the things we're trying to improve and the old problems, legacy problems we're trying to eradicate by moving forward.
And it might be something as simple to say as, let's not just use the word difficult. Why don't we just go, yes, we're making changes, but it's not to make life difficult. Things will be different as a result of the changes, but different doesn't necessarily mean bad. Different doesn't necessarily mean difficult.
Important distinction. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Rob.
All right. Cheers, Ricky.
Thank you.
Next time on The Question Is...
So you'll get those people that will embrace the opportunity, take ownership for their element of this and go, so what is it that I know? What are absolutes? What have I got questions about? And those people are a breeze to manage because they're telling you how they're feeling.
Thinking Focus works with teams and business units in organizations around the world, helping them achieve breakthroughs by enabling them to think differently. To find out more about our work and how we could help your organization, go to www.thinkingfocus.com.
Hi, this is Paul from Thinking Focus. I just wanted to let you know that this podcast is part of a series on the myths that often occur during times of organisational change. You can find other podcasts in the series and some special resources related to these myths at thinkingfocus.com/myths.